Hello, and welcome to another episode of Tales from a Professional Nerd. My name is Bryan Steele, and I will be your nerd today, and every other day that you watch this fabulous show, when I manage to get it out. Alright, before I start off with the Week in Bryan, I am going to straight up apologize. Last week was crazy. I know I've been kind of all over the place with technical issues and stuff. It's just been, life has been very busy lately, with the kids going back to school, with potential COVID scares, with myself fighting an unfortunate infection in my leg. It's good now. We're all good. It's just been kind of generally crazy. It's been a madhouse at the steel compound. But it doesn't mean that I haven't been doing stuff, and it doesn't mean that I haven't been playing games, and I haven't been working hard, and all these things. It's just it seems like every time I get around to getting ready to record something, or I set aside time in the schedule to do something else pops up. So I apologize to you subscribers. I apologize to anyone new who might be watching this. If you are watching this post release, like you're just kind of shuffling through, then this didn't affect you at all. You were like, "Why? What do you mean? I just clicked on a new video." But basically, I hit a few videos ago. I did a video on dealing with stress. And I kind of hit a boiling point. I was juggling way too many chainsaws, not taking enough time for myself, not sleeping enough, and I had just started a new diet plan to try and shed some of this weight. I got larger than I've ever been, heavier than I've ever been, and it is, I can say this now, since I've started. I'm 7 pounds down. So like I said, I was gonna walk you through this. So hopefully you'll be able to tell me about be skinnier in the face. But it's been rough going. I cried over pudding. My wife went to the store and bought sugar-free pudding because she found that it had, sugar-free Jell-O has 0 carbs and sugar-free pudding has very few, and I was in the throes of sugar withdrawals. It was like a week into the diet, and I wept. I'm not afraid to say that. I'm not ashamed to say that. I got teary-eyed in the kitchen because my wife thought of me and a way for me to get through this and stick with it, because I need to. I need to shed a lot of weight. I need to figure out how to kind of readjust my life a little bit so I'm not quite as sedentary. It's just it's a good thing to do. I'm 43 years old now. 44? Am I 44? Yeah. 44 years old. I had a birthday since the last time you saw me. I turned 44. I'm old. But yeah, so it's just, like I said, I want to apologize for everybody. Life has been going well. It's not to say that things have been bad. It's just been very busy and very stressful and very chock full. My schedule has been pretty much back to back to back on just about everything I do. That being said, let's bring you up to date on the weeks in Bryan. The Waking Realms D&D game that I've been playing, which is a homebrew game run by my friend Micah, who that's where I play my capoeira dancing cat monk. We had to miss a session. We had to miss a session because everybody and their brother didn't show up. We just had it was a rough time putting it together. And then the following week we missed a session because I started. I'm running a game for my friends in Indianapolis. Plus one carpooler from Lafayette, which is about an hour away. It's nice to play in person again while we still can. Hopefully, this time around, people will be smart and will get through this whole virus spike. Get vaccinated. Wear a mask. Don't be stupid. Sorry. But we got together and we played for the first time, and it's a different style game than I'm used to running. I am running it, a lot of the encounters, a lot of the things that I'm doing is very visual. It's very 3D, lots of terrain, lots of maps, and I'm basically building most of the adventures based off of the stuff that I can 3D print. So all of the monsters are painted, all of the terrain, like they came out to a mountain gate, and I actually had a mountain gate painted. There are some very cool future scenes that I've got terrain for already painted that I'm looking forward to. It's an interesting. It is a very visual game, and it's. I don't want to say it's cerebral. That sounds haughty. It is a higher brow, upper planar game. Basically, they are serving a lesser demigod, and doing kind of it's kind of like an A-Team D&D sliders game where this demigod recognizes there are things wrong on other planes of existence. Things shouldn't be there, or things that are there, mortals have screwed stuff up, and he's sending this team of crack operatives to go and fix it, and to make sure that the planes, the balance of power stays the same. And obviously there's more to the plot that they will slowly uncover, and they'll figure out more of what's going on as time moves forward. But I got to use my for the first time in a long time. I got to throw a boulet at my players, and it was cool. It was neat. They got ambushed from below, and then another guy got critical bit. Did like 40 some odd points of damage. It was a good fight, and I am looking forward to the next time we play. I've got some more stuff that I've painted for that encounter. I'm excited. It's cool. I really enjoy the looks on their faces when I get to say, all right, everybody clear, we're gonna put a map out, and I start putting models on the map, and they basically go, whoa, okay, cool, because I also made sure that everybody's got a painted model. If they didn't do it themselves, I went ahead and found one, printed one, and painted for them. It's a lot of fun, and I'm hoping I'll be able to tell you more about it. Now, I do know that at least one of the players watches the show, so I can't get too deep into it, because that would be giving away, plots and things. Let's see what else. The Curse of Strahd game. We only managed to get one game in because we had to move stuff around. People were absent. Maybe. I guess no, because we played again last night, so 2 games. The 2 games ago, we got our butts kicked. I mean, royally just trounced by the Baba Yaga lookalike in the swamps. I think we had her. I think we had her almost dead to rights, but then she jumped into her house, and her house is scary. Spoilers if you're playing, don't fight the house. Jesus. Unless there's some kind of spell that is like, power word deconstruction. Yuck. It was way too tough for us anyway. So then last night, we, in an effort to lick our wounds and replace the character who died against the house, we found some ruins of this really cool dragon part of the story that I've never heard before. I don't know if it's something that Nick has added, or if it's just a part of Curse of Strahd that no one really talks about. But it's definitely, so far it's definitely a really cool little side plot, especially for me. I'm playing a brass dragonborn paladin, so it's neat to see all these dragon motifs and try and be like this is like my cousin's house, that sort of thing. Um, let's see. That's probably all the role playing I've done. An industry buddy of mine is starting up an online Dune role playing game from Modifius, the 2D20 system. I have yet to make my character, but I'm going to be a Cobra swordsman from House Orsus, um, on permanent ward to the house that his game is based out of. Uh, my house, my house has sent me a little attitude filled young swordsman. Has basically traded me to this house. The effort is to basically show them how powerful House Orsus really is, um, by being an example and trying to show up their guards and that sort of thing. Um, but I get the sneaking suspicion that there's going to be people in my family higher on the food chain that are going to be asking me to do some spy stuff, and I'm going to have to decide whether or not that's whether or not that's in my character's wheelhouse. Is, do I spy? Do I tell my family about what's going on, right? Or do I stick to the fact that I'm a badass swordsman, I'm a warrior first, and don't ask me to do all this shady stuff. Just let me be awesome. Let them bask in my awesomeness, um, rather than doing a bunch of shady things. We'll see. And then of course that will earn me no favor in the house, and we'll go do being mostly politics, politics and worms. That should be a T-shirt. Do politics and worms. So there's that. Played a lot of video games. The Sea of Thieves, playing a lot of Sea of Thieves. Playing a lot of a little game called Pit People with my son. It's a goofy, cartoony, turn-based strategy game. It's really silly, but it's a lot of fun, and we've been having a blast with it. Um, and then the only other thing that we've really been doing a lot of is I'm getting my orcs started. I have a unit of Storm Boys, a unit of Knobs, a unit of Gretchen with a Runt Herd. I have converted a Weird Boy / Wur Boy, depending on which thing I take with them. Sorry, and I've got a bunch of stuff still in the sprue because I haven't had time to put it together. Mostly Beast Snagaboys, some Squig Cavalry, one of the big Pachycephalus Squigs. And I am. Oh, and I've got 4 little Grot tanks from Forge World. And now I'm looking forward to trying to flesh out that army and make it playable, make it bigger. I am not sure. I'm still not 100% sold on which clan I want to do. I think originally I wanted to do Snake Bites because I wanted to do all like primitive orcs. I was going to convert a bunch of Age of Sigmar orcs. But then I think I'm going to go Death Skulls. I've always liked the Death Skulls. The blue face paint always looks really good. Is striking against the green. And their powers and stuff are pretty cool. The only thing that I'm not huge on is that they're like primary special equipment or whatever. Their clan's piece of war gear is based off of vehicles, and I don't know how many vehicles I'm gonna really put in there. I'm sure I'll have a few, so who knows? The other game that we've been playing a lot of, I have only gotten a couple of games in recently because of how busy I've been, is Necromunda. We still have an ongoing campaign. Necromunda, having so much fun with it. My Paladite Enforcers are now officially tough enough that I feel like I have a good chance against most gangs. I still don't agree with how bottling works when it comes to some of the more small number elite size gangs. It seems weird. It seems like it should, rather than being a blank die roll, it should be based off their leadership or something. But either way, I have increased my gang or my squad pretty well. I've lost a couple of games. We'll get into that when I get into the actual meat of this episode. But what I have been doing is I've been taking the time while I've been doing some commission painting, which is this box right here needs to go out in the mail today. Been doing a lot of commission painting in the interim, pay some bills, but also I've been painting my own guys. So ever since I picked up the Paladites, I've wanted to basically make them into street judges. Hell, in old Necromunda, the Adeptus Arbites, I wanted to make those into street judges. Well, here we go. Let's see if I can get you to focus on him. Focus. Oh, this is weird. So, there he goes. A little better. So basically, he's got the. I'm doing them based off of the comic book judges. So gold and yellow shoulder pads, red helmet outlines, green belts, boots, and gloves. So I've started painting some of the guys. So here's one of my subjugators. Grrr, big tough guy, super shield. And then this is something that I'm very proud of. One of the things I like about New Necromunda is just the sheer host of additional things you can add to your team. It's not just Juves, gangers, leaders, and then like special characters. It's not just, in my case, rookies, enforcers, and captains and sergeants. There's all these bounty hunters. There's all these, you want a servitor ogre, grab a servitor ogre. You want you want a sump croc for Goliath, have a sump croc. So there's all these cool things you can add to the game, and I think that that's fantastic. One of the things that I have always loved the model for is the Ambot. Which is a mining assistant bot, a robot that has basically the brain of a amble in there that's all plugged in, and it's good for mining stuff. I decided I wanted it because it's super tough, and it's a way for me to bring some specialist weapons to the table, because unfortunately the cops have a very limited war gear list to draw from. Without having to send their very limited champions off to the black market and hope to get something cool. So one way for me to go ahead and kill two birds with one stone is to make sure that I get a model in my force that's got a couple of cool special weapons. So I've saved up my credits and I got an Ambot, but because I'm doing these street judges, I decided to turn my Ambot into a SWAT bot. So it's got, it's painted up like a street judge. His cabling is a little different. He's got one arm that's got the grav guns, and he's got one arm that's got the melt-a-gun. But I put a subjugator's helmet in there, so basically instead of an amble brain in there, there's actually, I've got there's a guy driving it. But then I green stuffed these little police siren lights on there. So I'm really happy with him. He turned out really good. And the first match that he went out, he took out a bad guy. The rules, I've got to basically make sure that I've got everything together. One of the things that he's very susceptible to is he's slow. He's easy to get around, and he has no way of really stopping being pinned, aside from just standing up, falling down, standing up, falling down. So I've got to figure out a nice way of hopefully maybe getting him enough experience that he'll get a role on the table. And man, it'd be great to get him like a something to avoid being pinned, Nerves of Steel or something. That'd be great. But yeah, so Necromunda has been a lot of fun. I'm gonna stop. I'm not gonna talk about my games of Necromunda right now because actually it's part of what I want to get into with the episode. And then the other thing before we get into actual work stuff, I got a few things in the mail that are cool. So I backed a Kickstarter. Oh, I don't have it. I've got that put away. I backed a Kickstarter it's called like the Magic Stick. It is a battery operated USB powered pin vise drill. They came with a bunch of little thin pins. I think it's gonna be very helpful because right now my hobby drill is starting to wear out. So hopefully this will have enough power to do what I need it to do to get for doing a lot of pinning and things like that. I drill out all the barrels of my guns. But yeah, so that should be a lot of very useful. So that was a Kickstarter that came in, and then another Kickstarter that came in. Some of you might be old school punk rock fans like myself, and if that's the case, this symbol will mean something to you. Mm-hmm. That's right, the Dead Milkmen. Dead Milkmen is a great band that have all kinds of great songs out there from back in the day. But last year, they decided, apparently they're a bunch of nerds, they decided they were going to write and produce and publish a D&D adventure. And it's very tongue-in-cheek, but I backed the Kickstarter, and it is the Lost Tomb of the Bitchin' Chimera, a Dead Milkman RPG adventure. Let me read the thing on the back from Lawrence Schick, the author of White Plume Mountain. I'm here to share with you a nugget of wisdom from over 40 years in the game business. A game should be fun. This deranged module, The Lost Tomb of the Bitchin' Chimera, comes with my personal guarantee. Not that you will survive it, because who could guarantee that? No, in fact, you will suffer. What I do guarantee is that you will enjoy every minute. So it is a lot. It's basically a fun. It's a straight up D&D adventure. Like, you read it, and it's makes sense. Like it's got some parody stuff. Like we've got Taco Land. We've got some baseball caps on some orcs. We have a leather jacket of protection. There's a bunch of things in here that are 100% parody, but they still fit really well. But then there's also, like, here's a really cool map of the actual Lost Tomb. Like they did the work. They wrote an adventure. They made it funny, but they did the work, and it actually has some cool stuff in it. Well, it came with a bunch of D6s, where the 6 is the Dead Milkman symbol. There had some other stuff you could get, but one of the things that I had to get, and you can laugh at me if you want, because it's a gamer thing to do, to be like, ooh, novelty dice, is a Gelatinous Cube D6. Now, this thing weighs, I'm going to say about 7 or 8 ounces. I mean, it's a hard acrylic. Rolling this on the table would be distracting as all get out. I'm using it more or less like a paperweight, but it's cool. It's just basically a gelatinous cube. It's got skulls and stuff floating in it, and that's 4 skulls is a 4, 5 skulls is a 5, so forth and so on. When I got that in the mail, I opened it up, and my son saw it and immediately was like, "And I'm taking that." I'm like, "No. So everyone in the family got one of these. The set came with 4, so everybody in the family gets a Dead Milkman die. But the Gelatinous Cube is mine. It's mine. I'm trying to think, is there anything else that has come in? Playing a lot more Magic with my son. He's made his own deck now. Made a couple of his own decks. We've been playing a lot more lately. He's good. He's got There are a few times during the game where I'll have to remind him, hey, just as a side note, I've got these lands untapped. I've got cards in my hand. You might want to think twice about blocking or think twice about casting this, tapping completely out to cast this super spell. Just keep in mind, the color of the deck that I'm playing could possibly go against that. Or like he'll attack with somebody and then like immediately afterwards cast a spell on them and be like, why wouldn't you do that ahead of time? Because if he has a reason, if he's got a tactical reason and I'm not aware, because I don't know his hand, awesome. Then rock and roll. You're doing great. I would say between the two of us, we got about a 50-50 win rate. Like I beat him as much as I lose, and that's not to be like I'm a bad player or he's stellar amazing. It's just we're having a good time. We're trying to. I'm trying to stick to the rules in case he ever decides to look at me and say, hey, I want to go play in a tournament at the store or something like that. But there's only so much I can do with the cards that we have. I have picked up quite a bit of the Forgotten Realms set, which is fantastic. I think I mentioned this the last time that I did a video, but it is a great set. I'm still missing a couple of pretty important cards. But maybe I'll put magic boosters on my Amazon wish list. Link in the description. So if you guys want to buy me some magic cards, cheap, cool way of bolstering my amazingness. just being silly. But yeah, so like it's just it's been a good couple of weeks, and now we get to the busy part. This is why I didn't get a video last week, aside from like family drama and stuff, but like work. I've been commission painting like a crazy person. I had put off a couple of things a little too long, and a client had asked, hey, how things are going? And it's like, it's going. I put the finishing touches on the Shadowrun novel. It is now in the hands of the primary editor. I know that it has to go through a secondary editing process with a particular person involved with that book. I don't know when that will get to them or how. Whether it's after we do the edit or after I honestly don't know. But it's done, and I really like the last 10,000-15,000 words. They happened super fast. They just fell out of my mouth, fell out of my brain onto the page, and I think I really like the story altogether. I believe, I hope that it conveys the right message and the right feel, and it's got just enough tragedy in there that as a reader you're not like, oh, Mary Sue. You're not just like, these guys can do no wrong. No, there's definitely some cock-ups and some collateral damage, and I'm excited. I want, anytime that I finish a story or finish a book, I want other people to see it. That's that's the whole point of doing this. I want to find out, even if you get bad reviews, I still, I get more positive reviews than negative ones, and those are for the people who, I want these books and stories. I want them to tell their friend, hey, you should read this. That's the goal. But yeah, so I finally finished up the Shadowrun book, which puts me solely basically focusing on Warzone and stuff for Renegade Games. Renegade has kind of turned into my primary source of income, between Transformers, G.I. Joe, and Power Rangers role-playing stuff, a secret project as yet to be unnamed that's coming up. They've got me working steady, working hard. I'm really excited. This particular weekend, the August 27th, at I believe it's 8 p.m. Pacific time. Is the first time that the world gets to see through Twitch, through a celebrity cast of them playing our Power Rangers role playing game. I'm pumped. The cast is amazing, and the DM is fantastic. Dustin Fletcher. There it's amazing, but I am almost more excited to see the comment section. So I'm gonna watch the Twitch. I'm gonna watch the stream. You know what? I'm gonna put the ad up right now. Let's put it over here. So I am very excited for that, and that is also a lead-in to the online Renegade Special Edition virtual convention this weekend, of which I'm doing a panel talking about the to be unveiled role-playing system and our part in it on Saturday, on Saturday the 28th. So I'm like I said, I'm excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's always nerve-wracking the first time the first time you see your baby walk. But we've gotten a lot of good reviews from the playtesters, the celebrity actors that are doing the Twitch stream on Friday had some very nice things to say in private messages. So I think we did a good job. I think when this comes out, it will be. I hope that it does really well, and I hope that it attracts a lot of business to Renegade, because I know one of the things that they want to do is they want to do more licenses. They want to add more licenses to that system, and I, for one, am all for it. I know there's a handful of them that I would love to see brought to the page, whether it's by my hand or otherwise. Warzone playtesting is going great. There's been a few last minute changes to a few things, but I'm pretty sure at this point the main rules are done. We've got to write them down and get them compiled into an actual book, but they're done. Maybe a couple of tweaks here and there, but overall, the game plays. It plays solid. It plays fun. There were some worries about certain types of forces might be stronger than others, but it's panned out really well. It's actually a sign of a very well designed game. Not to pat myself on the back, that the playtesters, while finding some personal preferences, they're not finding that many just straight up problems. A couple corner cases here and there. So super excited about that. I know it gets us closer. We're about ready to get into convention season. It's a brief 5 weeks away from Gen Con, which if you are a fan, put in the comments, and if you're gonna make it to Gen Con, maybe we'll be able to, you'll be able to look me up. I'll be wearing a mask, because COVID's scary, and Gen Con, while it is a work necessity since it's happening, it's scary. I won't lie. I'm not looking forward to putting myself at risk, but my career has to come first. It puts keeps a roof over our head and food on the table, and beyond that, I'll be as safe as I can be, and hopefully so will everyone else. And this convention will come and go with ease. Shortly after that, I've got Gamehole Con in October. I'm running I'm running a Power Rangers and a Transformers game while I'm there. So that'll be a lot of fun. Yeah, and then I think my next convention after that is probably Adepticon in March, which I'm hoping, because of the nature of Adepticon, I'm hoping that maybe Res Nova will have, the Kickstarter will be done, and maybe we'll have some playtest model or some models to play with, in the game rooms or whatever. I don't know. I can't speak for that. That's literally just conjecture for me. I'm hoping. It's just hoping. But that's really it. I know that there's a super long catch up, but it's been 2.5 weeks since we've talked, since we've sit down and had a chat. So let's talk about the topic of the day. Today's thumbnail, I'm sure you saw, is specifically the difference between new rules and broken rules. Every time something changes, every time that you see a new model come out, or a new army book, or a new core set of rules, or a new FAQ, or whatever, especially in miniature games, a lot of times players have a hard time dealing with that change, because they're basically, I've been playing against this for so long, I've been playing this army this way, so they have a hard time dealing with the fact that things are different. And it can often come off as, oh, that's too powerful, or oh, power creep, or something along those lines. A lot of times, players will immediately knee-jerk to go, oh, the brand new thing is broken. It's the worst. What I'm saying is that as a designer, as a developer, sometimes your bosses tell you that you've got to make something a little cooler than it should be, spruce it up a little, because it's a particularly well thought of kit, or it is from the last edition of the game, and they toned it down too far, so now they want to push the pendulum back a little bit, make it a little cooler again, so people will start using them. While I do not agree with that as a business stance, I don't like it. It is a way for these companies to stay in business, and a way for them to create value where there may not have been any before. I remember back in the days of Games Workshops, when they were doing a lot of blister sales, and the Caluxus Assassin, not Caluxus, the Colitis Assassin. She's this skinny little ninja with a blade and a ponytail. That model was less than 2 grams of white pewter, or of white lead, and cost like $30. And I remember asking the guy at the Games Workshop store, why is this so expensive? Because this was also before a lot of their box sets, they topped out at like 60. So this one little drip of metal cost half as much as this Layman Rust tank. Why is that? And while I did learn a lot about the economy of scale, the fact that the die-cut plastics are more expensive, but they produce tens of thousands of them to make the die worthwhile, and they eventually will sell those out. Whereas a spin cast model, like a little metal model, they can do it a short run, so it doesn't have nearly as much overhead. They get more profit out of being able to sell it that way. So I get that. I understand that. But then he looks at me and says, well, and the Colitis Assassin is a game changer. It's a game winner. And I remember looking at him and be like, so it costs more because it's better in game? By that rationale, Gretchen should cost nothing, but that's not the way it is. And there were a lot of things in old school, like late 90s, early 2000s GW, that went by that route. That you'd look at this blister, and rather than being like all blisters that have one guy in it are roughly $32, there were some that were 20, there were some that 25, and then there was this Colitis Assassin who was like $32. And it was because of how powerful she was in game. And that ends up coming to a pay-to-play situation, or pay-to-win situation, is just because a hobbyist doesn't have the extra money to get a Colitis, or just because this one player does have all the money to buy all the fancy toys, suddenly he's winning games because he's got a bigger wallet. That's not okay, and that does a huge disservice to the balance of the rules. It's just not okay. It's not a good way to do things. So move forward where they kind of equaled out a lot of the prices across the board. Now it becomes they don't want people to get complacent and just hang on to their army forever. For instance, I've got, I think we added it up, I've got like 13 or 14,000 points of painted Necrons at this point. Because every time I get a new book, there's always some new things in there that I want to buy and add to my force. That's solid marketing. Is it's not hey, get this model and suddenly you everything's winning. It's they know I'm gonna, if I buy this, I've got this army, I've had it for a decade or more. I'm going to end up buying the new stuff to bolster, to add to it, because gamers tend to be completionists. Very rarely does a gamer go, this is my 2,000 point list, this is all I'm ever buying, I'm never fielding anything else ever again, blah. And that's how a lot of these companies make their subtle changes and move forward. That is not to say that everything that is new that comes out when you play against it, sometimes it's shock value, sometimes it's, oh man, how is that a thing? What do you mean that psychic power does this? What do you mean you only pay 20 points for this? That is a little more forgivable because a lot of times those designs are dealt with. How many of this are in the army? How much more of this? Can I field 3? Do I only get to field 2? Is it unique? There's all this extra stuff that goes into figuring it out. Very recently, someone asked me on a TikTok how to calculate the challenge rating on monsters in D&D. And I said, I'm not going to lie to you. There isn't a real good way. There's not really a mathematic equation that says this plus this number of hit dice and attacks equals a CR rating of 5. It's more along the lines of you find something similar, something equatable, and make your adjustments. And if your new thing is more powerful, you bump up the CR. If your thing is less powerful, you knock it back down. And then it's from there that it's up to the playtesters to decide whether or not that's true. You could screw up your numbers, and suddenly every time someone goes against this thing, it's a TPK, total party kill every time. And that comes down to just basically playtesting. Playtesting is extremely important in our industry, and anybody who says, "Oh, we handle it," I've been playing a long time, we handle it during the design and development. Wrong. Don't. Get playtesters. Get people who are not involved with the creation of the product to tell you whether or not it's good or bad, to tell you whether or not it's broken or simply scary and new. These are the elements that you need to be able to focus on. Otherwise, some things will slip through the cracks and possibly rob you or your opponent of fun at the table. I bring up right now, the reason why this topic is very raw in my head is because very recently I played a Necromunda game with my awesome cops against my best friend in the world and his Delac. So the Delac just got their updated book, The House of Shadow, which, by the way, the Necromunda house books are fantastic. They're brilliantly written. They're filled with all kinds of cool stuff, gear, special abilities, new characters, little splinter houses, like little things that can add to it. It's great. It's super cool. They're great books. However, Necromunda is the kind of game that it is very competitive. It is very mean. It does not leave much room for error. There's not a lot of re-rolling. There's not a lot of hedging your bets. A lot of times you just kind of got to stick your neck out there and hope for the best. Whoever is writing the house books for Necromunda is forgetting the fact that this is a very competitive game. which means you go back to the House of Chains book, the Goliath, and the stuff that you get in the Goliath book is drastically less powerful, less durable, and more expensive than the things that happen in the Deloc book. And I personally believe, this is my thoughts, that whoever wrote the Deloc book did not do enough comparison or playtesting. Whether or not they were just trying to slam it out fast enough so you can start selling some very cool models, or they just simply, didn't really understand how this stuff was going to interact with the rest of the Necromunda world. And there's some scary stuff, I won't lie. Like the Deloc are supposed to be these like shadows in the darkness, they come out of nowhere. And so they've got a bunch of really cool infiltrate special abilities. They've got a bunch of stuff that's like, I can see and you can't. It's a very neat book. There's a lot of really cool stuff in there. And then I fight against the book. So my Paladin Enforcers do not have an updated book. The closest thing they've had to an expansion is a Forge World character. As of late, they're super due. I'm due for something to come out for my cops. I would love to get a full book that's all just like cops and bounty hunters. That would be fantastic. I don't think we're going to get it, but I digress. So I played against the Deloc, and no, the scenario did not help me. The scenario it was him ambushing me, so I was caught in this firefight, and I had to try and get off the field, and I'm fighting against an army, or a gang that is twice as powerful as me. Their rating is through the roof. I got a whole bunch of extra tactics cards as a handicap. But it was what it was. I ended up losing the game pretty significantly. He had 2 new models on the table from his new book. One was this kind of shadow ninja guy with these knives that ignore armor, which, by the way, as cops, that's my saving grace. Is everybody's got giant armor. So as soon as I hear somebody says they have a weapon that ignores it, it's I feel like, all right, well, I gotta stay away from that guy. But so he's got this ninja guy, and he's got knives, and he's got a psychic power, and he's very fast. That guy did a little work during the game. But there's one model, and I call it sour grapes, call it, oh, you don't know how to, you didn't get a chance to beat it, so therefore, it's broken. There is a model, the Cephalopod Spectre, from the House Deloc book. It's the floating squid, like a brain with a bunch of robots. It's kind of like a backwards version of the Matrix squiddies. That model is so unbelievably undercosted. Yeah, it's expensive. It's like 220 some odd credits, which is a lot, to say the least. Like that's more than a fifth of a starting gang if you wanted to put a Spectre in there. So that's a lot. But it does everything. It has psychic powers. It has 10 attacks on the charge. Keep in mind, your average character only has like 2 or 3. It ignores armor. It can fight up to 3 inches away. It has 3 wounds. Most models only have 1. I understand that basically if you get lucky and fill it full of lead early on, it dies. But it flies. It has a move of 10. So it adds plus something when it charges. So it's like it's got a 17-inch charge on a board that's only 3 feet wide. It does everything twice and costs less than one of my heavy weapons guys who has 1 hit point, decent armor, and a good gun, and that's it. It's it is so hard to look at that thing and not go, what the hell were you thinking, designers? How did you do this? And I'm hoping it gets a FAQ. I'm hoping that the people play and they go, wow, this thing is too insane. It needs toned the heck down, or needs to cost like, 100 more credits, like something. It's insane. It really, really is. And I'm a firm believer in, as a game developer and as a game designer, I don't like looking at something and saying that's broken, because I wasn't in the designer's shoes. I didn't know what he was thinking or what they were thinking. I don't know. Maybe they realized that because it's got this, exposed brain, that enemy psychers are gonna do a number on it. I don't know. I have no idea what could have been going through that guy's head when he came up with this thing. So I don't like to normally say, ugh, broken. What I can say, though, is that when it is apparent to me, when it's been highlighted, this thing is ridiculous. It has no ranged weapon except for its psychic power, which is still only like 3 inches, but it's super fast. It's grotesquely deadly in close combat. Ignores armor, of course. I would assume that it automatically makes your gang into an outlaw gang because you've got this alien brain thing. I don't know. So, regardless, that model, I have such a hard time swallowing. A designer came up with that, and the playtesters let it slide. The only thing I can think of is that we are either, as newer Necromunda players with this edition, we're either missing something, like there's like some obscure rule or something that would tone this thing down, or there is an errata coming and they're gonna be like, oh, by the way, oh, sorry about that, it doesn't do this, or it can't do this, or this is already included in its profile, or whatever. I'm hoping that's the case. I don't know, unless you got super lucky, what could actually take that thing down before it kills half your horse. It's just how it is. Let's see what else. There is that. Orc Book just recently came out. There's another example of, is it just new or is it broken? The Kill Rig, which is a very big model. It's gonna sell like crazy. It's got this giant Squigosaurus in the front and a bunch of guns. It's basically like a squig drawn super battle wagon chariot, including like an auto hitting laser if you've got a guy who casts a psychic spell on the first turn, or during the psychic phase. When this gun shoots, if that someone did the psychic phase thing, it hits automatically or something like that. It normally, I would never say compare it to another model, but comparing it to another model within the same codex, that's a pretty good example of what they believe is the power structure of this thing. Where they've put it in the pecking order. But if it's in the same book, you can also look at something else that's got a similar number of guns, similar number of wounds. Maybe it has a special power and this one doesn't, or this one has a special power and that one doesn't, or whatever. But in current day, you can basically peek outside, jump on your phone, check the price, check the MSRP, and figure out, money-wise, is this a good deal? And then there's the third thing. You can figure out, points-wise, is this a good deal? And in the Orc Book, sadly, there are just a few things that you look at and go, why is this so expensive? Or why are these not cheaper? Why isn't this more expensive? So the Kill Rig, which is basically an up-jump battle wagon with better guns and definitely better close combat because of the giant Squigosaurus, is less expensive than a straight up battle wagon? Doesn't make any sense. And, all right, let's go back to the kill rig. It, for what it does, it equates to the same as the battle wagon, but it is fewer points, and that doesn't make any sense. Add in the Warboy on the back, and now it has psychic powers, and still is still comparable to the battle wagon. I get it. They want people to play these new models. They want people to be like, all right, the Squid Cavalry is amazing. The Knob, or the War Boss riding the Squigosaurus, if your dice are kind to you, it has the ability to cause more mortal wounds in a single swing with by one model than anything else that I've ever seen. That's insane. So some of the stuff in the Orc book, it's frustrating because I look at that and go, oh, that model is amazing, and oh, I can't wait to add that to my force. But then there's that voice in the back of my head that says, people are going to really hate that because it's broken. And it's hard. It's hard to, as a developer, not look at that and want to go, well, here's how I would fix it. Because you also have to try and avoid having 700 house rules. Because if you start changing points values or changing values on models and start changing this and changing that, if you start doing all these sorts of things, then you are throwing off any semblance of balance that those designers put into that book. Sometimes you can recognize one unit that needs fixing or one rule that needs fixing. But I'm telling you, you want to wait for the official word to come down. And until then, maybe save some of that really gnarly, broken stuff. Save that for particular matches. Save that for particular games. Save that for that one guy who says, I can beat anybody all the times. Then you go, all right, now let's see if this really can be an edge. But don't ever be afraid to field anything. Like if your opponent, if you are playing against someone who's a friend and your opponent is a good person, you can still field some of that broken stuff, and then look at them and go, I know, it totally needs toned down. Now, that's not to say you go, I know it totally needs toned down. That's why I brought 9 of them. So it's sometimes it's hard to know whether or not something is just new and people haven't adapted to it yet, or something is straight up the equation is wrong, the playtesters were wrong or non-existent, and this is definitely a ploy to sell models. I know when I design stuff, Warzone fans out there, I do my best to make sure everything is on an even keel. My goal is not to sell a particular model over the others. My goal is to get people to want to play everything. They look at the roster and go, man, Imperial's my bag. I love these guys. And then they go, ooh, but Martian Banshees, maybe I should go Capital. And then like the next month's release comes out and they go, oh, the Templars of Ilion. That's what I want to do. My goal is I want to make sure that everything has a place and everything is hopefully, structure dependent, as powerful as it should be. Not this just mess of superpowered stuff that you only see on the table. Every army, the top 8 armies has these 5 things. That's what I gotta say to that. All right. So I've ranted enough about new rules versus broken rules. And I think that you guys, as gamers, you will figure it out. Sometimes it's just the sting of getting your butt kicked. And you're like, oh, that's broken. Oh, that's broken. And the next time you see that guy play, someone takes it out in turn 1, or they figure out that oh, this is the weakness of that thing. There are sometimes it's looking back is what gets you. You focus on something in the past and you go, okay, here we go. And then you play it again and go, that's not that bad. And then there are other times where you look at it and the numbers just don't add up. It does too much. It does too much too strong. It's too inexpensive. Sometimes you just look at something and you kind of, not so subtly say, this is unfun. This thing is not fun to play against. And I'm not saying that someone should bitch and moan every time that they lose and be like, that's no fun to play against. I'm saying use your right judgment. Is it new? Is it something you just don't know how to deal with yet? Or is it something that is ridiculously, set in its ways, and by the time anyone figures out how to deal with it, the next new fancy thing will probably be out. And above all else, remember that you're playing these games to have fun. So even if something is just frustrating and broken, don't scream about it. Don't flip a table. Don't yell at your opponent. Don't make your opponent feel bad for bringing it. Just play the game. Enjoy yourself as much as possible. And then maybe after the game, you look at that opponent and go, good game, but man, that Spectre is too good. Basically talk it out. Figure out, maybe he knows that it's got a weakness, and now that you guys are playing, you can be like, oh yeah, so it hates fire, or whatever. These are things that will hopefully help you be a better sportsman, be a better gamer, and if you're ever planning on getting in the industry, recognizing these things is super important, because if you don't recognize what's, game-changing and what's broken, you could accidentally make a bunch of stuff that falls into that category thinking that's the norm. But it's not. There shouldn't be. Speaking of the norm, all right, going into this weekend, check out Renegade Con, please. Watch our panels, talk to us, spread the love. The like I said, I put the picture up already, but I'll probably put the advertisement at the end of the video. In the meantime, enjoy yourselves, de-stress, get back to regular semblance of work, but be safe, wear a mask, get vaccinated, get boosters if you can. It's not going to turn you into a robot. It's not anything political. It's about saving lives. But most importantly, get out there, have a good time, and I don't know, play some games. See you next week.